testimony today. Yesterday I kind of went up until me and my wife got married. She was currently pregnant, and I had just gotten saved. It was December 8th, I believe, 2010. And like I said, you know, I had always been in the church and had always believed. You know, in a sense, I knew he was real, but I never actually believed. I never actually trusted in him. So it's not really, this isn't going to be like chronological or anything. I'm not going to go in order and keep going. I'm only 25 years old, so there's only been 6 years. Me and my wife have been married for 6 years. There's only been, you know, we got married January the 1st, 2011. I got saved, truly saved, gave my heart to God right before that. And there's some more story to it, you know, after that. But I want to, you know, go back and touch on some other stuff too that I might have, you know, left off. I might have, you know, forgotten to say. So let's go back to when I was 12. I realized yesterday I didn't go into much of the whole sex thing, and like just growing up, man, you know, I just wanted to be in this relationship, and it was like a grown-up relationship. I wanted to fall in love like they do in the movies. You know, that was like where I wanted that was where I thought my purpose was. To just truly fall in love, you know, and just like find a girl and like us be together. As I got into high school, I started smoking weed, and honestly, if you look back on it from a psychological standpoint, smoking weed in high school when you're going through puberty is like the worst thing you can freaking do, because you're going through all these emotional changes, all these hormonal changes and stuff like that, and on top of that, you got weed, you know, you're smoking weed and getting high every day. And it just like counteracts everything, and it makes you a freaking, you know, an emotional wreck kind of thing. But as a man, you don't even realize what it is, because you men don't get emotions, you know what I'm saying? So like you just don't even admit that it's emotions. So, you know, and all this stuff, you know, you're growing and your body's going through changes, and then you're you know, like back then, like I said, I found my identity in weed. Like I was, you know, listening to Sublime and of course like Dave Matthews and stuff like that, and Bob Marley. Man, I love Bob Marley. I wrote a book report about Bob Marley. I wanted to know everything about Bob Marley because he just seemed like this amazing, just loving, just awesome dude, you know. And he was, you know, he was. And that's where I found, you know, 420, red, green, and black. Just like, that's where I found my identity. Anything that had to do with weed, that was who I was. You know, that was my people, you know, like, just, you know, DTH, down to get high. That's what I was all about. And, you know, everybody knew, well, most people knew that back then. So I didn't have a girlfriend in 10th grade. I just basically spent my whole time getting stoned and hanging out with my friends, going camping, you know, just chilling. Like I said, you know, I was doing other drugs. I never did cocaine. I did it once, and it was by accident, which sounds funny, but it's actually true. And I'll tell you that story later. But I thought it was something else, which is no better, obviously. But it's just a funny story that I can actually say that I did it by accident. And so, yeah, and so 10th grade was just like a blur of high. And I didn't drink a lot, but I drank some, hanging out with friends, partying. You know, I didn't care about God. I said I would, but I didn't know what it meant. You know, there's no way. I was hidden. This reality, this America that we live in is so good at just hiding who he is and who he truly is. And you have to grow up with some amazing parents and around some amazing people for them to actually instill in you what the Holy Spirit actually is and what God actually is, and why abiding by his ways are the most important for you to grow up and just know it, you know, and not partake in those things. And if it's not one thing, it's another, you know, maybe it's pride, something. And so, yeah, so, you know, 10th grade comes around, or 11th grade comes around. I'm in 11th grade, and it's around football season, so I know it was around the beginning, and I start dating a girl, you know, and it was cool. I wasn't the best boyfriend in the world, I know, and I made mistakes, and she ended up cheating on me, and it broke my heart. I mean, it wrecked me, like, hard. You know, this was towards the end of 11th grade year when I found out that she had cheated on me, you know. And this was like real cheating, not just like, oh, she kissed another boy, you know, because like I said, I wanted to, you know, fall in love and have these adult relationships and stuff like that, which was stupid. Honestly, I wasn't ready for that. Kids aren't ready for those things, you know. It's not right. And so, you know, it broke my heart. And at that same time, I I had been finding my identity because I had just done, you know, these hallucinogens, you know, call it what you will. It really did help me. God used it, and it's not necessarily like, oh, hallucinogens are a good thing, but God used it as good for me, just like it says, God uses all things for his good. And so, you know, all this emotion. I went to see my guidance counselor because like I just couldn't handle this stuff. All of these things I were getting from God and what he was telling me and this wisdom that he was trying to put into me, and just all these things that I was seeing through, all these veils and fakeness that I was seeing through by opening my mind with, you know, with these things, you know. And then over here you got this life that you just try to partake in anyway, and then it breaks your heart and it crushes you, you know. And at the time it was devastating. And so I get on from that. I move on. I'm just like, you know, I figured out, hey, I probably wasn't the best boyfriend. I needed to change myself in order to find that girl that I want to be with forever or whatever. So, you know, I get out of alternative school, which was where all that took place. She went to a different high school than me. I went to alternative school. She went to my normal school. And then so 12th grade comes by, the same thing. I'm just worried about girls, smoking weed, and like I'm going to school this whole time, but at the same time, like I'm having sex and doing drugs and doing all this stuff, you know. And it's like it didn't make any sense, you know. A man can't put forth bad fruit and good fruit, you know. It's not this. A bad tree can't do both, you know. And so I meet another girl and we start dating, and you know, and I'm fall in love, you know, what I thought was love, and you know, and then the same thing ends up happening. I mean, she doesn't necessarily, from what I know of, cheat on me or anything like that, but she basically did the same thing because she tried to, like, she fell in love or fell in lust or whatever with another dude, and you know, and to make it worse, it was like it was my brother, you know, and it just broke my heart, man. I was just miserable. I really was. It's just like, man, a second time, and I realized I wasn't the best boyfriend then either, you know. So I know it's not all that person's fault, but like, you know, and it wasn't even real love. But like what you think is that it is real love, so it becomes real love. So so then, you know, all these, and the whole time I'm doing drugs, I'm tripping on acid, tripping on mushrooms. Well, not acid yet, I hadn't done acid, just mushrooms, but mushrooms all the time, you know, ecstasy and all this stuff. And at the end of the year, at 12th grade, I graduate, and I'm like, I'm going to a music festival. Like, I'm not going to senior week. Senior week is like, go to the beach, like, get drunk, hook up with girls. Like, yeah, I like girls, but I wasn't into just like this meaningless hookup. God would speak to me because he knew me and he knew my heart, and he would show me things. He would show me the darkness in this place, you know. People there, they claim this love and they claim this life of positivity, but when you get down to it, you know, man, I'll never forget it. I was on the phone with her. I was on the phone with my girlfriend at the time, and I was so mad because she wouldn't shut up, and like she wouldn't shut up, like, and I was just pissed. And like I was like, I didn't want to hear it because she had been crazy leading up to those weeks, and I realized it was because, you know, she was, you know, insecure about what I was going to do because of what she was doing. And I remember forget these three, you know, dudes, like one was a girl, two were guys. There was a dude, a girl, and a dude. One, like, he had like he was barefoot, you know, long hair like me, you know, but he was in it, like he was immersed in that life, and like no shirt. The girl had on like a leather bikini top, or like some brown bikini top, like, and like a skirt, and then there was another dude with no shirt. And I just remember them literally swooping in, like they ran up and they dipped down and they looked at me like if you just imagine me running from over here, just being like, and they were just like, he just said rage, and like kept going, and then the next one said rage too. They said like words like that, like hatred or anger or something like that, and then they just kept going and they were off. And it's like they sensed that about me, and I literally was on the phone and I was like and I just hung it up. I didn't even say goodbye. I just hung it up, turned off the phone, and put it in my pocket. And I was like, he is so right. I was like, I'm not going to succumb to this rage and anger. And at the time, I thought that's what I was thinking, like, this is what goodness was, just not being angry and not being rageful and stuff like that. And the whole time, God was just working with me, and he was showing me things about people and their hurt and the deception that is behind that whole community, you know, because they are so in depth in hallucinogens and opening up their minds and stuff like that. Now, I understand, call it what you will, drugs are drugs, right? They make you see things and feel things, and ooh, it's drugs. But like, Hallucinogens are completely different. They're not like doing cocaine or smoking some meth or, you know, doing a little crack or whatever, you know, those people do. It's different, and it's still a drug, and it's still mind altering, but the chemical that it is, it releases something in our brains. The chemicals is psilocybin in mushrooms, you have LSD, you have 2CP, 2CI, mescaline, you have all these different chemicals, and they all do something slightly different. And now see, mushrooms is more of a spiritual thing. The chemical that it is, whether it be a spirit behind it or whatever it is, it's more of a spiritual thing. You have to be cool with yourself and cool with everything around you in order to do it. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. And I've had plenty of bad, well, not plenty, but I've had a few bad times on mushrooms, you know. And one of the worst times I ever had was on acid. But see, drugs like mescaline, like mushrooms, these things, they open you up to this spiritual realm, truly. They literally... You have this spiritual cap over your mind that it's not physical, it's spiritual, and it blocks you from all these, from really seeing all these things. And not, I don't mean seeing like, yeah, I'm sure you can actually visually see these things, but when I say seeing, I mean like spiritually feeling them. And mentally seeing them and feeling them. And they act as if whatever you want them to be. Literally, they take the shape of whatever it is that you would see these beings, these entities of this higher amazingness, or whatever you want to call it, to be. For me, when I saw those beings in the stars, they took on these just like these ancient Mayan faces, like Dia de los Muertos, like the skulls with the swirly faces. It was like that's what their faces were, and it was something I didn't understand, you know. And that's what they took on with these beings of just positivity and just like, you know, just like amazing. Like honestly, they were just trying to be amazing to me, to where I couldn't believe it, and they had to be some unearthly gods, right? And so that's kind of what I'm going to leave off today. Is that you know, I was in this place of like, man, you know, mushrooms and weed and hallucinogens aren't bad. They help me to discover the universe and to discover God. And I was so wrong about that, you know. And I'll get into more of it later. But it's been like 16 minutes, and you know, I know it's hard to sit down for more than, you know, 10 minutes sometimes. So I'll just let you guys have a great rest of the day. Whenever you watch this, I hope you guys stay tuned. Thanks a lot. Living Vibrations out.